It's a very good morning to the Gelding. Gelding, too wet at Caulfield today. We're going to steer away from Caulfield Cup Day and head north to Randwick, where the track might be a little bit better for us.
Good morning, Professor. Good morning, listeners. Yes, Professor, going to Sydney today, where who would have thought 40 years ago, Professor, a bigger race day in Sydney than in Melbourne on Caulfield Cup Day?
Yes, Gelding, we talked about that in the lead up. Who would have thought, and in what world are we living in, where you would say that the best jockeys in Australia are in Sydney rather than at Caulfield Cup Day in Melbourne? And that's what's happened today.
Yes, Professor. And look, here we are, Professor. Caulfield Cup, one of the majors. Always, as we were talking before, look, most jockeys regard in their career, if they've won the big four, they call them the big four: the Golden Slipper, Caulfield Cup, Cox Plate, Melbourne Cup. And here we are today, a race, the Caulfield Cup, worth $5,200,000. Group 1 race, time-honoured race, a 1.5 mile handicap. And yet up in Sydney, we have a race equal the same amount, over 1,600 weight for age, in the King Charles, Professor. So you would say, oh, well, that sounds pretty good. But on top of that, they also have got two other $2 million races.
Yeah, and they're group 3s, Gelding, not group 1s. They're group 3s.
Yep, worth $2 million. And down here in Melbourne, we can't. Most group 1s aren't even $1 million, Professor. As we hop on a but then they go ahead and top that by $20 million. So their prize money for today, and there's a Silver Eagle race 8. That's just worth a paltry $1 million, Professor.
Yeah, I've done the sums, Gelding.
Yeah.
The Randwick races total out at about 29 million.
Yeah, just shy of 30.
Just shy of 30 million. And guess what? The Caulfield races, exactly 7 million.
Well, Professor, is there that big a difference between what's happened to Melbourne racing?
Well, exactly. What's happened to Melbourne racing? How could this possibly happen? And surely we've got to say that Peter Volantis is the winner, where he's winning the, in inverted commas, war.
Yes, Professor. And why are we as owners racing in Melbourne?
Maybe we should suggest to our trainer that we have a look in
He
relocates
to New South Wales?
Well, that'd be a reasonable suggestion, wouldn't it? After all, we've got a classic racing day. Like, we were talking off air about how many classic races there are in Melbourne, right? But back when you and I were kids, there was the Melbourne Cup and there was the Caulfield Cup, and they were the two iconic races in the calendar.
Yep.
The other ones have gained momentum over the years, but the Caulfield Cup was the lead into the Melbourne Cup, and they were the only two races that most people who weren't involved in racing spoke about.
Well, you look at who runs 1, 2, 3 in the Caulfield Cup for your Melbourne Cup selection.
Exactly, Gelding.
Yeah, but anyway, Professor, yes, well, I think the socks have been, as your grandmother would have said, and my mother would have said, maybe it's time for Racing Victoria and the clubs in Victoria to pull their socks up, Professor.
Well, yes, and another thing that those wise women would have said, Gelding, is you can't pull them up if you haven't got them on.
Well, Professor, having gone through Caulfield yesterday, as I was telling you off air, and seeing some of the flogs that have previously run the Melbourne Racing Club, all they were talking about in the loudest possible voice as they're walking through the joint was how they're going to enjoy themselves in the committee room today. So, maybe that's the problem, Professor. Maybe maybe Victorian racing should take control away from these people that are in it for themselves to kind of enjoy themselves, and really.
Well, the difference with me, Gelding, is Volandis is running it like a business,
which it is.
Right? Well, exactly, but he's actually running it like a business, and the proof of the pudding is you've just got to look at what's happening. You know, it's like there's a magnet in New South Wales drawing all the good jockeys away, and they've got all the prize money. So come on,
well,
where will the betting go today in Australia? There's a case in point, Gelding. We're betting at Randwick today.
Well, we don't trust the Caulfield track.
Yes.
Right, as we've talked, Moonee Valley and Caulfield now, it's Russian roulette sometimes when you have your bet now because you don't know what the track's going to be like. Randwick, we know, top 5, you'll get a good track. Hopefully, God knows what Caulfield's going to present today, Professor. And as you said, we're looking to tip, and also to bet ourselves, but also to tip horses. So we're looking somewhere where we think we're going to have at least an even money chance of picking you some winners.
Well, and if you're an owner, Gelding, and let me put this to you: you're an owner and you're looking around for a jockey to ride at Caulfield today, and you want Carr or Shin or Williams or McAvoy or Stackhouse or Zara or McDonald or, dare I say, Lukey Nolan, right? Right?
Yeah.
It's not available. They're not riding your horses today. They're not riding your horses. They're all in Sydney. So if you want the best jockey on your really good horse to give it a really good shake, guess what? You're not having them today.
Caulfield Cup, let me say, Professor, a lot of jockeys have flown in, probably at the expenses of
FIFO Gelding, fly in, fly out
from Hong Kong. D Moore's back from Singapore. There'd be 4 or 5 jockeys from Hong Kong, and of course you've got one from Tokyo. And why, Professor? I don't know. I don't know where the country meeting is today. Have we got enough jockeys to be there?
Now, tell me this, Gelding. I've got another bone to pick with you before we get off the soapbox.
Right.
And we hinted at this last week, and I said it to you yesterday, and I said it again this morning before we went on air. Are racing clubs pricing the everyday punter like you and I out of the spring carnival? Because I looked at the prices, you and I discussed it, and I just thought, well, I was thinking of going, no way. I'm not going to waste money, because that's what all it'll be. It'll be a waste of money because it's far too expensive in these times.
Well, reading various newspapers during the week, Professor, and I don't like racing clubs are there to run race meetings, aren't they?
Yes.
Not pop concerts.
No.
Not piss ups.
No.
Right. That they were
not degustation menus.
Yeah, they were wrapping themselves saying, we're going to have the largest crowd in racing of under 35 people since COVID. That they're bringing some DJ in. This is page 3 of a daily paper. So here you have the executive of a racing club promoting the fact they're going to have a DJ, they're going to have under 35s. It's going to be, they're calling it the party session, Professor, the Caulfield Cup.
Yeah, no wonder you and I aren't going, Gelding, because, when we had a party, it'd be on a Friday or Saturday night, and we'd be off to the disco.
Yeah, and that's all they want. And they may, and hopefully they get a good crowd, right? I don't know whether they will today with this type of weather floating around. But you know what? These people aren't converted to racing.
No, they won't be there once it's finished.
They won't be there on the December 26th meeting.
No, you and I probably will be.
Yeah, because we're racing, and hopefully we have horses racing. these guys will be there for 1 second and they'll do it. But imagine the history of the Caulfield Cup, and you're promoting it as the party session. Like,
yeah,
really,
that's all they've got left, Gelding. They haven't got they're losing the war with the money.
Well,
so,
and let's talk about today. If you wanted to go, Professor.
Yes.
You're a member.
Yes.
I'm a member, and I buy a guest pass, right? So I'm 500 down before I even just to go to the races during the year.
Yes.
Now, if you want to take someone into the members today as your guest, how much would you be forking out, Professor?
Well, last week it was a very expensive $250, I think. So how much would it be today?
$180 for a guest pass last week.
Sorry, 180. So how much today?
This week, it's $60 to get in the gate.
Yes.
And then you pay another $280 to get your guest into the members.
So 340 before you've had a drink, eaten some food, or bet on a horse.
Yes. And you can be like, we sat in the members reserve last week when our horse was racing in race 2, and you're competing with empty beer glasses on the ground, plates with sauce all over them and sauce over the seats. Where they sell their 3 party pies for $12, Professor. And people just don't seem to care, and they don't clean up about it. So why wouldn't you pay $350 to sit in those conditions? Then, Professor, if you wanted to have a meal, you could go to the Sky High luncheon, right?
Oh, that'd be cheap.
And pay $645 for a full-course meal.
Ouch.
So you and your partner, not only have you just spent $360 getting them into the thing, you then got another $1,300 to go there.
Gelding, I thought $350 for the Melbourne Football Club's president lunch was too expensive, too rich for me, right? But let me tell you, $350 actually gets you into the ground as well. Gets you into the ground. So if you're going to that luncheon at Caulfield today, and you've got a guest, there's $1,000 you've just spent towards that guest.
Yes. And you're basically the best part. By the time you get your drink bill at the end, after they charge you our prices, you'd be 2 gorillas down, Professor.
All right, Gelding, we better get off the soapbox. People are tuning out.
Professor, there's a cheaper option.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
You can go to the Boomborough room.
Yes.
Which is in the depth of the stands.
Yes.
Right, so you can't see out. So, you might as well just go in a box and get a buffet lunch if you want. You've only got to pay $200 for that.
Gelding, last time I had a buffet lunch, I was at Coles cafeteria in the city.
Yeah, the fish and chips.
When Coles had a cafeteria.
Yes. And Professor, look, it is, and the Victorian Racing Club's the same, and Moonee Valley's the same. And you know what? They lament during the year that they don't get crowds. I would say to you, why not spend some money on Sandown, improving conditions? Where regular race and increase the crowds. The halcyon days now, as Professor, I'm quite content to watch the races from home.
Gelding, just a question without notice. How many races today at Caulfield will be run on the second track?
Probably the same number as last week, Professor, and on Wednesday.
Excellent response, Gelding.
So last week they had 10 races. Wednesday they had 10 races. Today they've got 10 races. So you're racing your biggest race on a track ruined after 29 races, right? And you've just spent $2 million building an inner track, and you decide to run how many races?
None.
0. Zilch.
All right, Gelding, we better.
But it looks nice and green on the inside of the track.
Yes. It's aesthetically very pleasing, Gelding.
I think we're still in single figures for race winnings there, Professor. But 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's it.
Three. All right, Gelding. We're at Randwick today. It's a 10-race card. The first is at 12:30 p.m, so it gives me a little bit more time to get down. I haven't got quite as much pressure as usual. The last, Gelding, 6:10 p.m. That's a little bit late.
It's a long day, isn't it?
It's a long day. The feature races.
Are they thinking about King Charles? How's he going to cope?
Well, is he going?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, nice. He'll doff his hat, will he?
Yeah, he'll doff the hat, yes.
Oh, nice. All right. The feature race is the Group 1 Everest Gelding over 1,200 metres. It's worth $20 million. I haven't worked out how many million that is a metre, but anyway, it's a lot of money. The tracks are soft 5. The rail, Gelding, guess what? A premier race at Royal Randwick. The rail is in the true position. Guess where it is at Caulfield today, Gelding?
Out how far, Professor?
Out 3 metres.
What was it on Caulfield Guineas Day? True.
Yes.
Wednesday.
Yes.
Out 12.
Yes.
And now back 2. Good luck guessing where the best part of the track's going to be.
Yes, Gelding. All right.
Anyway,
what are your best?
I wouldn't say this too often, Professor.
Yes.
But I'm saying Sydney's doing it a lot better than Melbourne at the moment.
What are your 2 best bets for Randwick today, Gelding?
Well, Professor, going in the big races, we've got to have a bit of fun. So the $20 million Everest, fantastic field of horses. Every horse has got a chance in this. Horses we've backed, Jolly Star, Growing Empire, Traffic Warden, Storm Boy, Private Eye, Bella Nibertine, Giga Kick. Going against them, Professor. Going for your trainer and jockey, Peter Moody, Kath Coleman and Luke Nolan. In race 7, number 1, I Wish I Win. Currently round about the 550, Professor. So thinking that'll be a nice each way bet for me. So my first tip is race 7, horse 1, I Wish I Win. Professor, then going to the $5 million King Charles III Stakes, a new race introduced by Racing New South Wales. As I said, 1,600 metre race, weight for age, worth $5 million. Going for one of the horses I regard as certainly the top 3 horses in Australia, is in race 9, number 9, Pride of Jenny, Professor, Karen Mar, Dylan Bates. Fantastic record over the mile. Fantastic performance Randwick last year. Everyone remembers it, where Declan Bates got, minimum 20 to 25 lengths out in front of the horses and the other jockeys. I think it can get out in front today. Catch Me If You Can tactics. Will be interesting to see what the other jockeys do and whether James McDonald expects the other jockeys to cart him into the race. Be interesting, or whether he makes a move. But Professor, I like those 2. So look, nothing wrong with backing good horses, Professor. That's my theory today. Big races, good horses. Race 7, number 1, I Wish I Win. Into race 9, number 9, Pride of Jenny. You like, Professor?
Well, before I go into what I like, Gelding, and I know that I have a feeling, because you and I both rate the horse, that Vate in race 8 was very V8. Vate.
Yep. Vate
was very, very unlucky not to be one of your 2 selections.
Professor, certainly have a look at it. If the listeners have a look at V8 today, you won't see a better looking racehorse. It is an absolute beautiful horse, gleaming like a bull. And look, Professor, might have a little sneaky on it today too. You never know.
All right, Gelding, my 2, I'm going early as usual. Put the pressure on myself. Race 1, the St Ledger Stakes, a Group 3 for 3-year-old and above, over 2,600 metres. In this race, Gelding, I've gone for horse number 6, Etna Rosso, ideally drawn in barrier 1. It's had 13 starts for 4 wins and 2 placings, so a 31% win rate. a 46% place rate. It won the Group 3 Newcastle Cup over 2,300 metres a month ago, and its last start it was fifth in a Group 1. That was 2 weeks ago at this course to Land Legend. So that form will do me. Kieran McAvoy's in the saddle. Chris Waller training. You can get $3.70 and $1.55 at the moment, Gelding. So some nice each way odds there for punters.
Oh, I like it, Professor. Dropping back from the Group 1 into the Group 3. First and second in the Metropolitan are well fancied in the Caulfield Cup today. This horse saying about the same distance, but dropping back significantly in class. And I think the form's there, and McAvoy avoid. You're not losing it. Round about the each way odds, Professor?
Yeah, not too bad, Gelding. Not too bad at all.
What can you get at the moment?
$3.70 and $1.55, Gelding.
That'll be a nice little start to our parlay, Professor.
Well, we certainly hope so, Gelding. Then I'm going for a little bit of a roughie in race 3, the Reginald Allen Quality. It's a Group 3 for 3-year-old fillies over 1,400 metres. Number 5 in Barrier 1, Gelding, Aliana. Only had 3 starts for 1 win, so a 33% win rate, a 33% place rate. It won its second start at Randwick, Kensington, and it's had a 6-week let-up. It did win on a soft track, Gelding, so that's what I've looked for. Now, theory here, McDonald had the choice of horses. There's 3 Waller horses, Concordia Wind and Canara. Now, in its only start, Gelding, in its last start, it was ridden by Kieran McAvoy, but McAvoy's on Canara today, so I would have thought with James McDonald coming in with a 22% career best over the last 50, I'm looking for him to do wonderful things, and you can get $10 and $3 the place at the moment, Gelding.
Oh, Professor, I like it. Very nice, Hip. And
it'd be very nice for our parlays if that gets up, Gelding.
Oh, Professor. Nothing wrong taking the best trainer in Australia and the best jockey in Australia, Professor, when they combine. They're that for a reason. So, yes, let's hope so.
Well, it's a very even field too, Gelding.
I like it. And drawn the inside, Professor?
Yeah, drawn the inside. So my 2 for today, race 1, horse 6, Etna Rosso, and race 3, horse 5, Aliana. And Gelding, before we get on to the Professor's parlay, did you want to have a quick chat about the Caulfield Cup for the punters who might be having a bet in that race?
Oh, look, Professor, we got to have a quick little bet in them. Even though there's a lot of negatives about Caulfield today, but it is the Caulfield Cup, Professor. Look, I've backed 2 already, and I backed them last week. So, I'm talking about the Sydney form. I like Sardosi, 4-year-old mare. She is an Oaks winner, coming in with 51, good whack form. As I said, I always like the James Cummings trained horses. Sardosi, number 13, race line number 13, round about the 7-1 mark, Professor. Got a little bit better than that last week. It's come in with the rain, with the lightweight. Drawn barrier 12, so should be able to get in a good position and do there. As I said to people many weeks ago, Professor, I find the Turnbull Stakes is normally a bit of a key to the spring, and I certainly like that. Via Sistina, we're back when it won, and it just beat Buckaroo. So, look, bit of a doubt on Buckaroo at 2,400, but Chris Waller trains. He seems to have no doubts that the horse can get the distance. Joe Moreira, the Magic Man aboard, was second in the Turnbull. So that'll do me, Professor. So main bet would probably be Sardosi with a bit of a saver on Buckaroo. But I will mention that there's a few other horses in there. Alias, number 7, Duke de Sassa, and Young Werther all perform very well in the Turnbull. And these are horses that you can get round about the 20-1 on, Professor. Look for the wet track form. If they're in there, they're a chance. So we'll do that. But we can't back them all. So we'll be going Buckaroo, number 2, and number 13. Sadosi. Also, Professor will be failing of him. Just to mention, there may be a place chance up in Eagle Farm today, Professor. If you go race 3, number 16, drop the mic, round about the 16s. Maybe if you have it for third place at round about the $4 for third, Professor, may be the way to go. So,
all right, Gelding.
There are a couple of mine.
All right, well, let's head to the Professor's Parlay. Last week at Caulfield, Gelding, broadsiding.
Yeah.
Broadsided out of it.
Well, Professor, when we were tipping it, we did put a caveat on it that we were worried about the track.
Yes.
And the buyers. And I think James McDonald said it very well as he was walking back from the sales and was asked, how'd he go? And his only comment was the track was playing very fair, with so much sarcasm in it that just
we did detect it was a 2-pace track, didn't we, Gelding? If you're on the rails, you had you're on the freeway, and if you're out a little bit wider, you weren't making any ground against any other runner.
Yep. And look, out of the 10 races, Professor, 80% of them, if you weren't on the rail and in the lead, or on pace in the top 4, you didn't win the race.
Yeah. And as usual with the Professor's Parlay, Gelding, when the racing leg didn't salute, the other 2 legs did.
Well,
the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans saluted.
Yes, Professor, as we did predict once broadsiding was defeated. But see, the week before that, the 2 weeks before, we'd been going very well on the horse tipping.
Yes.
And it let us down. But look, let's bounce back today, Professor. I think the bet of the day may be in Sydney. We've been on it before, so let's stay with the Pride of Jenny.
Yep, that's race 9, horse 9 at Randwick Gelding, Pride of Jenny, and we'll parlay that into the number 4 ranked AFC team, Buffalo Bills, playing at home. They've won 4 out of their 6 matches, Gelding, to beat the Tennessee Titans. They've had a very disappointing season. Only 1 win from 5 starts. They're 13th in the AFC. Buffalo Bills second in offence in the AFC. So at $1.20, I think they're a very good bet at home. The line's 9.5, Gelding, so it's almost a converted touchdown plus a field goal. So the bookies don't like the Tennessee Titans, and we'll parlay that into the Washington Commanders. Gelding having a very good season. They've won 4 of 6.
Can we call them by their old name?
The Redskins.
Yes.
Yes. So they're equal first in the NFL for offense. They are scoring on an average of 30 points per game. Now, a bad day for the Carolina Panthers, Gelding. They've only won 1 of 5. They've got the worst defense in the NFL, playing the best offense. So Carolina Panthers let in 34 points a game. The line's 9.5, so they don't like them in this one. $1.19 for the Washington Commanders at home. So it's race 9, horse 9 at Randwick, Pride of Jenny, into the Buffalo Bills to beat the Tennessee Titans, into the Washington Commanders to beat the Carolina Panthers. The Professor's Parlay currently running at 41%. So, Gelding, let's win today and keep it above the 40% Plimsoll line.
It's still a very good ratio, Professor. I know you want to get it up there above 50, and we're trying to work on that for you. So let's hope.
All right, Gelding. Well, a lot to take in today. We've had a bit of a gripe. We've tried to pick some winners. Hopefully the viewers have loved the show. So until next Saturday, and that's racing, it's good luck.
And good punting.